Welcome, I'm Nancy West with indepthnh.org, and we're here speaking with Associate Attorney General Jeff Strelzin about officer-involved shootings. And I know your time's limited, so I'll try to be quick.
Okay.
Can you tell me roughly how many officer-involved shootings there have been tracked in the state? I think going back to '99.
So I didn't total them up. I know I sent you the reports, so you have every single report that I've been able to find going back that far. There may have been ones before that, but we weren't able to locate the reports prior to that date.
Yeah, and I think there's, from what I've gathered from my research and other people, there's about 55
That sounds about right,
officer-involved shooting.
going back over those decades.
And I think you told me there were 3 that were not that they were unjustified, but 3 that were not deemed justified shootings.
In my time here, yes.
Yeah, and can you tell me which ones those were and why they weren't justified?
There was a case in Nashua, and it was not ruled justified because we didn't have enough information in the case. There was a dispute. My memory is there was a dispute with, I think it was a union lawyer about the parameters of police interviews.
The Tony Pavero case, I remember that one, I believe.
No, it wasn't.
Not that one?
It wasn't Tony Pavero. No, that case was a justified use of force. And I apologize, I can't remember the name, but I think that was the reason for that one. There was a second one where, just based on the facts and circumstances, we determined that we could not disprove that self-defense claim beyond a reasonable doubt, but it did not rise to the level of justification. And there was a third one, which was in where we simply did not have enough information to determine one way or the other. And so we did not rule that justified.
And I think you ruled that inconclusive.
Right, we couldn't make a determination whether it was justified or not.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the difference between being a justified and unjustified shooting, what that's based on?
Sure, it's based on the certainty, the level of proof in the case. When a private citizen or police officer uses deadly force and claims that they acted in self-defense, the state has the burden to disprove self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt. So there's no burden on the actor to prove that he or she acted appropriately under the law. Once they raise the issue of self-defense, the burden shifts to the prosecuting authority to disprove that claim beyond a reasonable doubt. So the question is, how close to that level of certainty can we get? And that will help dictate the findings in the case.
So are the officers placed under oath when they're interviewed, the officers who are involved in this?
No witnesses are placed under oath, whether private citizens or police officers, during investigations. People are placed under oath in official proceedings, like in courtrooms and depositions, things like that, where perjury is at play. But no witnesses are placed under oath during investigations in purely interview scenarios.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Ian Kibbe case, and that he was the shooter in the Cody Lafont case. I think that was 2016. Now that was originally ruled justified. Can you tell me why that's been reopened and how long that investigation will take? I was told by a lawyer looking into it that he expected it to be released soon. He had put a right-to-know request in for that new investigation.
So I'm not sure that we're going to issue a formal report or not, but what we've said is we're re-reviewing that case, and that's based on that police officer's conduct, which occurred, I think, about 2 years after the shooting. So that's why we're looking at it again, because there's evidence, clear evidence, that he was dishonest in another matter not connected to the shooting. So we decided, based on the evidence, to re-review the investigation.
Do you know when that review will be complete, and if I can get the report on that, or the investigation?
Yeah, I don't know when it will be complete, and again, I'm not sure that we're going to issue another full report. It really depends on the outcome of our review of the case.
You know,
but that is ongoing.
Now that's a case, I believe the officer was at the home of Cody Lafont outside for just about a minute before the shooting took place. And there was a gun found at the scene that the officer said Cody Lafont had aimed at him. Now the mother and the family doesn't believe he owned a gun, and they believe that it could have been planted there. There's apparently no signature or no numbers on the weapon that would be able to trace it. Do you know if the Attorney General's office or the investigators did any fingerprint testing on that, or tried to find out where that gun came from?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into those details while we're re-reviewing it, but I refer you back to that report, and I haven't looked at that report in a while, but I think the The pedigree on that gun was outlined, and it was a gun that Mr. Lafont did in fact own before that incident. But
Okay.
again, I don't have a specific memory of that right now, but that's my memory of it, that was a gun that he owned prior to that. And I believe guns had actually been removed from the home, I think by family members or friends, because they were concerned about his behavior, and I think that's in the report as well. That
Yeah,
was
I
issued
hadn't
publicly.
heard that from family members, but I'll reread the report.
Take a look at
I
it,
did read
yeah.
it once.
Yep.
And let's move on to the Wendy Lawrence shooting. Now that was in Manchester in, I think it was also 2006. And the state trooper said that he felt he had to shoot because the car that Wendy was driving was aimed at him and was headed towards him and in fact driving. And the attorney says she was parked. It was not in gear, it was not driving. And the attorney says that the investigators never looked at the black box that would have proven that she was standing still. Do you know, and it was tested during the lawsuit, whether or not people came up with differing opinions. But could you tell me why that wasn't tested, since that was kind of a basic part of the trooper's reasoning, that he felt she was driving towards him, and there was some other evidence that perhaps that wasn't correct? Why that black box wasn't tested before?
So there was other evidence indicating that she was in fact moving, and there was physical evidence as well. My memory on the black box issue is that at the time there was some technical issue about the fact that she had been in an accident before the shooting. So I think it was at the end of '89 or '93 she got in an accident. The question was that the black box had already dumped or recorded that data and would not record a potential second impact. So that's my memory of what it was at the time.
Well, you handle so many of these cases. What came out in the lawsuit was that once it was investigated, both parties had differing opinions of what the black box showed. So that sounds like it could be.
That's
right
my
on.
memory. That's my memory of it, Nancy.